Hi, this is Bob Weiss. I'm the host of Shaking Your World. Cheers.
Welcome home, folks. Yet another cooking class at Shakers. Today we are talking oysters, and we're going to do a couple of New Orleans style things in addition to raw oysters. So we are using raspberry points. Raspberry points are my preferred oyster. They are from as far north as you can go on Prince Edward Island in the very cold Atlantic Ocean. They're wonderful. A little thought about this as well. Fresh oysters come with a tag. You have to maintain this tag on premise. And by all means, if you go anywhere, and you should ask to see the tag that they have to see how fresh those oysters actually are. So, that being that, I'm going to begin with some simple sauces, and we'll do a Rockefeller, and we're going to do a charred oyster. Except we're not going to do a charbroil situation. We don't have that in this portion of Shakers. Those are upstairs. So I'm going to use the oven and bake them instead. So you at home, if you don't have a charbroiler, can replicate the same flavor profile in a conventional oven. I'm going to start off with some bacon first. I just want to get some renderings going here. So along with that, because we're using induction, I want to expedite the process here. Get a little olive oil in there as well. And then I'm going to get some butter in here. So the butter is also going to help the process to break this down a little bit. That's just going to go by itself. So this is going to be used in the Rockefeller. And in this, just for a very simple, the grilled that we're doing. I've just got some butter here. Again, a touch of olive oil to move it along. And I'm going to just take these spices and herbs that I have right here. Crushed black peppercorn. I've got kosher salt. I've got red pepper. I've got some oregano, a little paprika, and of course garlic, because garlic is a huge player in everything that we're doing in New Orleans, in both Cajun and Creole cuisine. Just use your blade to smash this down a little bit. Get a little bit of parsley in here as well. There's a natural affinity between garlic butter and parsley. And I just want to get these flavors up and moving ahead. Turn the speed down a little bit on our bacon as we're getting a little volatility there. Now this is just going to go right inside. Touch more oil, and that is just going to sit there and simmer on a low speed for a while. So this is about the appropriate amount of rendering that I want for this. Pull off our bacon. We are done with that. Got some spinach here. So this is going to go in the Rockefeller dish. Rockefeller was created in the 1850s by Antoine's in New Orleans, and it was in celebration of John D. Rockefeller, who at that time was the wealthiest man of the world, and he named it this because it has a very rich flavor to it between the butter and the garlic and, of course, the spinach. The spinach just goes right on top of there. Again, a little more parsley. Coarse chop is fine. Now, as we're doing something which is New Orleans based, we're going to get some hot sauce in here. Use any hot sauce you like. We happen to have Tabasco at hand, so that's going to go in both of these. Salt and pepper in here as well. And a little bit of rice wine vinegar in both dishes. It's going to accelerate the flavor. I'm big on acid and things, and I want it to be in both of these. A little more butter. All right, so these are just going to simmer away as we work on our oysters. Now, for the oysters, I prefer just a standard oyster knife. There's different configurations. Find one that fits your hand well. And I like to have this little bent portion on the top as well. It is easier, for me at least, to open up oyster shells. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. So there's this little hinge that's right back here. So there's the pointy end of the oyster, and there's an abductor muscle that's right here that holds them together. So these are alive. And as we open them up, they're still going to be alive. So the point is to get your knife inside here, wipe it off. There's always going to be some grit. And here, we have this marvelous liquor that's inside. So this is a beautiful oyster. They're incredibly fresh. Just take your knife and cut it underneath, and that cuts that abductor muscle. And that way you can just slide them right down your gullet. So we can arrange a couple of these things. We could use crushed ice, or you could use salt, whatever works best for you. But we present, generally we do these by the dozen here, as many as you like. There are a few places in town that you should be getting oysters at, and some places that you probably should not, just because they don't have the volume, they don't turn them over quickly enough. St. Paul's actually does a really nice job and has very fresh lobster and oysters. We, of course, use our seafood company in Chicago for this. We've had just great success the last almost 30 years with them. So just get in there, pry it up. People really like to get lemon with these as well. So it couldn't be easier. I'm not digging the way that one looks, so I'll kick him out. Something as simple as that, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to make a couple sauces to go along with this. But this would just be very simple, oysters on the half shell. Very easy. Now, what we can do is we can take our oysters that we just used here, put them in a pan. So I've got some breadcrumbs right here. This is a panko that we have ground down. Japanese panko is really it's a type of Japanese bread, white bread, that's crustless, and then it's flaked and or crushed like this. So for the Oysters Rockefeller, we have this beautiful mixture of fresh spinach and parsley, olive oil, butter, garlic, a little bit of rice wine vinegar, a little bit of hot sauce. And I want to get Pernod, so just a touch of absinthe in here. In New Orleans, they still use Pernod. If you go to New York, they're just going to use any variety of things that have a astringent and a licorice complexion to them. It could be a mark, it could be any number of things. So this just goes right on top, and it's going to go in the oven. We're cooking at 525 degrees. So for the next one, we'll get the char-grilled style. Again, we're not using a char griller, we're using a traditional oven. I like to put a towel over the top as well. I call them oyster bites. I've got cuts everywhere from 30 years or more of just doing oysters. And sometimes, even with the towel on, you can, like that, it will pivot up, because these are not hybrids that are going to be consistent. They have a little quirk in them. Every one is just the way nature has intended each one to be, which means they're all going to be just a little bit different. If you get these that are not going to open for you immediately, and if you're under a time constraint, you can certainly just put them on the side and come back to them later. But the important thing is you clean your knife each time and cut that abductor muscle, and it goes right in there like that. I personally prefer a briny medium cup or small cup oyster as opposed to these gargantuan things that we do get in New Orleans that I think are just, they're more than a mouthful and they're just kind of cumbersome in so many ways. And I think that something that's of the small to medium size just has more flavor, is is easier for you to handle in your mouth and just more enjoyable sensation. Now in New Orleans, you'll find people that are doing nothing but opening oysters all day. If you go to like the Acme Oyster House or something, and they will process thousands of oysters per person every single day, and they are far more efficient and conversant with this than I am. But like anything else, we talked about this yesterday with the onion cook-off, the more you do something, the better your knife skills are, the better your oyster shucking abilities are as well. So again, we just take these, make the turn, get them in our pan, maintain the liquor at all times that's there. This will be very flavorful. The smells are starting to come up very nicely as well. So we're just going to get our sauce in there right now. A little squeeze of lemon on top of that. And into the oven with these too. So you can see these are about halfway done right now. The opacity has changed here. You can see it's starting to firm up on the perimeter for the oyster itself. So another 4 or 5 minutes, this will be perfect. Again, if you had a grill, you can just stick them on the grill or underneath a salamander or something of that nature. Now, these are raw. So we want you to be concerned about a couple things. One is we always have an ice bath as we're working with this to maintain the freshness of those. The other thing is that as this is raw, you want to clean your bench, well, you do for everything anyway, but particularly right now, you want to clean this bench. So I'm going to take this onion, beautiful red onion, scored this fresh from the West Dallas Farmers Market. We don't need a lot on this, just a little bit. Going to turn the speed up a little bit on our CharGrilled or imitation CharGrilled. And I want to get a little onion in here as well. So I didn't want this on the front side. I want some of the texture of the onion to remain, so I didn't want it to cook down, which would have happened if we had it in that mixture first, and then of course to be baked as well. Just a moment ago. Crusty bread, sourdough bread, something of that nature really is a great accompaniment with this. Typically crackers are what you're going to get at the Acme Oyster House. Just have them by themselves. They're just marvelous. Completely cooked. The smells are just extraordinary here. Oysters Rockefeller. Incredibly easy to do. The entire process took, I'm going to guess, less than 10 minutes. The next thing up will just be the CharGrilled. a moment longer. You know, you don't have to use panko. You can use any bread you have. So the nature of all crostini anyway is a day-old bread, something that's going to be a little crustier, a little thicker. You can break that down. We use panko for a lot of things here, hence the reason I'm doing it. And but again, there's not one specific way to do anything. Find your own muse. Find your own way to do something. Find the way that makes sense for you, the things that you enjoy eating, and the things that you enjoy serving to the people that you love. That is the essence of cooking. So we cook these at 525 degrees. If you do this on a grill, the grill is going to be, just by the nature of the grill, especially a charcoal grill, is going to be hotter. I just want to get a little more of this on top and also get the texture of the onion on top of that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. See you guys soon. So here we are at Shaker's, doing oysters 3 different ways. Oysters on the half shell, oysters Rockefeller, and the oysters in a pseudo charred grilled style that we did in an oven. I hope you enjoy. Hope to see you soon. Cheers.